Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine from SEB Housing, and tonight we're going to run the lottery for the 44 affordable rental units over at Aster at the Summit in Wakefield. So I'm going to get the lottery underway in just a few minutes. If you have any questions during the meeting, you're encouraged to go ahead and either type them into the Zoom chat on your screen, or you can unmute yourself to ask a question. You were muted as you came into the Zoom call just so we can minimize any outside noise during the drawing. So this meeting is being recorded. You should have heard that disclaimer when you came into the room. And the reason for that is because it's going to be posted to our YouTube, to SEB Housing's YouTube channel later on tonight. So anyone that applied for the lottery that wasn't able to view it can do so if they want to. Just to give you some background information on the lottery, how many applications we had, all of that. This is all going to be in a document that's sent over to your email after tonight, but just a quick rundown. All households should already have a lottery application number. So that is the number that's in the form of a series of numbers. So in this case, your lottery number is between A.001 and A.086. If you don't have that number, or if you forgot it, misplaced it, let me know. We're not going to be calling, names, full names, or anything like that during the drawing. It will be the number that is drawn. Okay, so there's 44 total affordable units. There were 86 completed applications, so there's going to be 86 households in this lottery. There are 3 studio apartments, and there were a total of 8 completed applications for the studios. There are 23 one-bedroom apartments, and there was a total of 41 completed applications for those units. There are 13 two-bedroom apartments, and we received a total of 19 completed applications for those 2 bedrooms. And then there's a total of 5 3-bedroom apartments, and there is a total of 28 applications for those 3 bedrooms. So back when you completed your lottery application, you will have indicated on that application, and then SEB Housing would have confirmed for you your household type, it's called. So you're either household type 1, 2, or 3. And so just want to mention, this is all in the information packet, and you probably saw it on the application as well. But for the 2-bedroom waiting list, for example, type 2 households, type 2 or 3 households are going to have priority over type 1 households. And then for the 3-bedrooms, for the 3-bedroom units, type 3 households will have priority over type 2 households and type 1 households. And that just means the larger your household size is, for the most part, you have a priority for those larger units. And that's because the affordable housing program is designed so that households don't have priority for units with more bedroom size than a family might actually require. There's also local preference or priority for several of the affordable units. So if you answered yes to the local preference question on your lottery application, we will have, in your lottery eligibility email, it would have confirmed if you had done that. And you haven't submitted anything to confirm that you're a Wakefield resident or that you work full-time within the town yet. That would come later. But there is priority for several of the apartments if you have local preference. In addition, there's also several units that are equipped with accessibility features for persons with mobility impairments. So those accessible units, households who require the features of the unit are going to have priority over households of the same size or household type that don't require the accessibility features. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that when the drawing takes place tonight, you're not going to know for sure where you will fall on the waiting list. Even if you're drawn first, maybe you're the first number that comes up, you're not going to know if you're first on any of the waiting lists, because there could be larger households that are applying for the same units. There could be people who are going to be ahead of you because they're local preference, for example. So I need to sort the results from tonight's drawing, and then I'll compile the waiting list from the results of the drawings tonight. So when I do that, I'll be sending an email to everyone who applied for the lottery. So all 86 households will get an email from me with more of an explanation of the applicant pool, and then the waiting lists themselves will be attached to that email. And I plan to get that out tonight. At the latest, you will have it tomorrow morning, but I will try to get it to you as soon as possible so you'll know where you fall in the waiting list, because during this call, you will not, you won't know that for sure, because we will have to sort the results of the lottery. So there's going to be 2 lottery drawings tonight. And there's 86 applicants, like I said, so I'm going to be using a website called random.org to complete the drawings. And that's because there's a lot of applicants. So rather than grabbing dozens of application numbers out of a lottery box, we're going to do it digitally to keep the results as truly random as possible. So there's going to be 2 drawings. The first will be the local preference drawing, and that's going to include households who indicated that they either live full-time in Wakefield or work for the town or in the town. And I'm going to insert those application numbers. There was 18 people who qualified or reported having local preference. I'm going to insert those application numbers into a feature in random.org called the list randomizer. I'm going to show you that in just a minute on my screen, excuse me. So you can see what it's going to look like when I'm actually doing the drawing. And you'll be able to see the results instantaneously. The computer will spit back a random ordering of the numbers that I input into that function. And then after the local preference drawing, I will insert the application numbers for all 86 applicants, households, and use that same function, which is going to digitally generate a random order. So like I said, I'll be sharing my screen during the actual drawing, and I'm going to share it now so that you can see what that website looks like and what these drawings are going to look like, just so we're as transparent as possible. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. It lets me. There we go. So you should be able to see a website. It says random.org. There's a bunch of different things I could do here. We use the list randomizer function here. And when it's time for the drawing, I'm going to be copying and pasting all of the lottery application numbers for, at first, the local preference drawing, and then for the general drawing of all 86 households. I'll be doing 2 drawings in here. So just to show you what it looks like, so if I type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these aren't lottery application numbers. This isn't the lottery. This is just a demo so you can see how it's going to work. We're going to pretend that this is the drawing, but it's not. And I'm going to click randomize, and then it spits back an order. So in this case, number 1 out of 5 came up first, number 5 was second, and so on. So these are going to be how the lottery results are shown on the screen. And then I'll make sure to copy it and paste it and screenshot it and all of that so we have them. So that's it. That's what it's going to look like. And I will input the results into a spreadsheet that I have. I'll scroll through it so you can see where your lottery application number fell. And then again, those won't be the results of the waiting list, because I will still have to sort the results from tonight based on those preferences that I mentioned. So local preference, household size preference, and all of that. But at least you'll be able to see where your number was called. It will be on that list. So basically, the drawings tonight allow us to have the order for the waiting list. It's important that you just, again, keep in mind that the results from tonight are not final, because the waiting lists do still need to be sorted, both by local preference, household type, and the whether or not your household requires disabled accessible features in the unit. So after the lottery, like I said, I'll be sending out an email to all lottery households That's going to have more information on next steps. It's also going to have a copy of the waiting list. And you can see at that point where your lottery application number is positioned relative to other lottery applicants. Keep in mind too that if you indicated that you were interested in more than one household, more than one unit size, you're going to be on more than one waiting list. So for example, if you applied for both a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom, you'll be on 2 waiting lists. So just keep that in mind. So when you receive that email with the waiting list and the results, you're going to see that the top households on the waiting list, on each waiting list, are highlighted in green. And that's because those are the households who are going to be invited to move forward right away in the process. And the next step in the process is to complete a lease application with the leasing office. The leasing office very likely will invite more households than there are available units to complete the lease screening. And that's very common among most leasing offices. And that's because applicants often drop off. They're either ineligible after the lease screening criteria, or they're not interested any longer in renting one of the units. So it's very likely that your waiting list position will change, and it won't be those top 3 households who all rent each of the units. So if you're not one of the top households on the waiting list after tonight, it doesn't mean that you won't be moving forward in the process at all. It just means that those applicants ahead of you would need to drop off the waiting list in order for you to be called forward in the process. Once you're found lease eligible, once a household is found lease eligible, you would have the first chance at selecting and reserving an apartment. So if you're not one of the top households after tonight, you wouldn't be moving forward right away, but you could be moving forward afterwards. And you want to keep in mind too that SCB Housing, we haven't reviewed your income, asset, tax documentation yet. For this lottery, you have submitted your application and self-reported your income and asset and tax info. So even if you're that top household on one of these waiting lists, you don't want to give notice to your current property owner, for example, because you don't yet know if you're qualified for the affordable housing program, or if you're lease qualified because the leasing office hasn't screened your household yet. So hold off on that until you've been lease screened and you've been approved by SCB Housing. So after you reserve a unit and after you are approved by the leasing office, that's when you'll be sent back over to SCB Housing so we can request your income, asset, and tax documentation. So we can do that final program eligibility review. You should also have been sent with your lottery eligibility email where you got your lottery application number. You should have received a link or a attachment to the documentation requirements guide. So that has details on everything you'll need to submit for that final review by SCB Housing. So how many pay stubs, how many years of tax returns, that sort of thing. And hopefully you've been able to take a look at that already. If you haven't, just make sure you do that after tonight so you can start to gather that documentation. You'll have about 10 days to get that information into us once it comes time to move forward with SCB Housing. And then just a final reminder before the drawings here, any household living in an affordable apartment, so you're going to need to recertify each year with the leasing office, with the management team at Aster at the Summit. So if you are living at the apartment for more than 1 year, you're going to have to submit your income, asset, tax documentation again next year or 1 year after your lease. So we always just kind of recommend that households, have a folder or some sort of file that you kind of just keep updating throughout the year so you have that information when the leasing office requests it. All right, so any questions before I share my screen again and do the drawing, the 2 drawings actually, because it will be the local preference drawing with 18 households, and then the general drawing that has all 86 households. I'm going to share my screen again. Again, let me know if you have any questions. I'll scroll through the results afterwards. So this is just my spreadsheet. These are the local drawing household numbers. So these are the lottery application numbers for everyone, the 18 households who indicated that they have local preference, households who either live in Wakefield or work full-time within the town. So I'm going to copy and paste all 18 of these into that random.org list randomizer. And it's going to spit out the results for me from the first drawing. This is the local preference drawing for Aster at the Summit. So these are the 18 households who indicated local preference. Lottery numbers were just copied and pasted from the spreadsheet I had there. I'm going to randomize. I'm going to click the button. A034 was the first drawn. I'm just going to put the results here, and then I'm just going to quickly make it a little bit easier to view. If I can find the correct thing I'm looking for, just bear with me 1 minute. I'm going to save that so we have the results. I'm also going to screenshot the, well, I'm just actually. So we have all of this. And I'm going to, just give me 1 second here while I put this into a Word document real quick. I just want to make sure we have a screenshot of the results so I don't have to watch this video. So I'm going to save the screenshot, and then I'm going to do the general drawing as well. So preference, random.org results. And then I'll share my screen again with you. We're going to do the general drawing. Before I do that, again, here's the local drawing results. I'll increase this size a little bit here just so you can see it. If you're looking for your number, you're not going to look over here. The order is here. So as you can see, first number, these are the local households. All right, so I'm going to move on to the general drawing. All 86 lottery application numbers are here. So I'm going to go back over to the list randomizer. Just want to clear that one just to make sure it's completely cleared. I'm going to go into an entirely new one. And I'm going to, this was from the spreadsheet, and there's a couple blank rows here. I'm just going to delete those. These do not have application numbers in them. Make sure we have all 86. We do. Okay. So I'm copying and pasting the 86 numbers into the list randomizer again. And this is the general drawing. So every household who has a lottery application number that was issued to them for the Aster at the Summit in Wakefield Affordable Housing Lottery is going to see their number and the results here. And these are the results. I'm just going to, again, copy and paste into the spreadsheet here, and then I'm going to go back to that so you can see the results of that. So just give me 1 minute. And these are the results of the general drawing. Maximize that a little bit in case your screen is small. I'm going to hide this because that's just the numbers. And this is the order drawn for the general drawing. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit because not everybody's application number is in view right now. This is the general drawing, like I said. So the first number drawn in the general drawing you can see here was A.053. And then I'm going to scroll down. Do a couple scrolls here because I think the first 25 were visible, and now the second 25 are visible. I'll keep going here. And if you're a local preference household, you're going to have your lottery application number is going to be on both of these, in both of these drawings, as you saw. That doesn't give you, you know, double the chance of getting a unit or anything like that. It's just that we need to have an order for local preference households and an order for non-local preference households in order to establish the waiting list. So it's just something that the program requires us to do to be able to compile the waiting list. So I'm going to scroll back up again. Does anybody have a question? Didn't see their number? Has any questions about the process? Again, this isn't the waiting list for Aster at the summit, but these results from tonight are going to be what I use when I go ahead and compile the waiting list after this call. And I'll click over now to the local drawing. That was the order of the local drawing. So all of you will get a email from me, hopefully within the next few hours, with the waiting lists attached, and then also a explanation of the lottery pool, how many households were, you know, type 1, type 2, type 3 for the 3 bedrooms, for example, and how many households were local preference for each of the unit types, that sort of thing. And if you have any questions when you get that email about next steps, please let us know. But the next step in the process for the top lottery households, or for the top waiting list households, I should say, is going to be to fill out or go through the lease screening process with the leasing office. And that will include, you know, a typical lease screening if any of you have rented before, you know, background checks, reference checks, credit check, that sort of thing. And if you are approved by the leasing office, you'll come back to SCB Housing to submit your income, asset, and tax documentation in order for us to do that final eligibility screening or program eligibility screening for your household. So you should hear from me within the next few hours. We'll be in touch. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions once you get that, or if you have any questions now before I let you go. All right, everyone, have a great night. We'll be in touch soon.